Hey guys, so welcome back to part 2 of an introduction to logic functions. We've already done a few examples with if functions and an example with if and and functions, and now we're going to move on to if and or functions. So if and or functions, the combination is kind of similar to if and. It's just that or is kind of the opposite to and we're going to see how it's used. So if we have an example here, let's read it. So we have if employees have been on the job for more than 5 years, or they received higher than an 8 in performance rating, they are entitled to a 10% raise. Here we have a list of employees, their age, salary, years with the company, and performance rating. And what we want to do is we have to determine their new salary. Now, first things first, let me just give you guys a quick tip about financial modeling in general, or any kind of work that you're doing on Excel. Formatting is key. So if your work isn't formatted, no one's going to want to look at it, no one's going to want to interact with it or use it. You'll notice here that I've done most of the formatting on this page. You'll see that I've put a nice border around the data. I've made sure that the salary is in dollars, and I've colored the background white, so it makes my data look much cleaner and it really looks appealing to the user. But there is more that can be done here. So you'll notice that the employee names are to the left of the first column. So what we can do here is we can bring them to the center using Control E, which is the shortcut for bringing data into the center of the cell. Because primarily names are generally in the center of the column, it just makes the data look much nicer. You're going to notice that the numbers are towards the right of each column. You'll notice that the age is just a generic number, 25, 38, 42, but we can actually make it look much nicer. So one thing that I do want to point out here is that you can't type in, so for example, if you want to say 25 years, you can't just type in 25 and then years, because now Excel is treating this cell as text. It's not treating it as a number. What happens if I try to add 25 and 38 together? There's going to be a value error because you're trying to add text to numbers, and it doesn't work like that. So I still want this years in the cell there, but I also want Excel to understand that that is a number and it's not a word. It's a number that I'm trying to add together. The way I accomplish that is, first off, I have to select all of these data entries, and then I go up here to my formatting tab and I hit the drop down option, and then I go to more number formats. Okay, so it's going to give me this window right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the last option, custom, because I do want to come up with a custom number format. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get rid of general, which is the current format, and I'm going to type in my custom format. So it goes like this. I'm going to type in the pound key, which basically stands for a whole number. So in this case, age is a whole number, so pound is therefore a whole number. That's how Excel reads a pound key. And then after that, I'm gonna type in quotation marks. I'm gonna open the quotation marks and I'm gonna type in years, and then I'm gonna close the quotation marks. So what that does is that it translates a generic number into a more meaningful format. And once I hit enter, you'll notice that Excel has transformed the prior number into both numbers and text. But the good thing about this is that Excel is reading these as numbers only. So if I try to add 25 to 38, it's going to give me 63. And it's going to include the formatting, which is amazing because it really makes your data look nice. Again, you can do the exact same thing with years with company, because again, that is the number of years that this employee has been with the company. So we're going to go up here to more number formats, custom. We're going to put the pound key in there, and we're going to say years, and then we're going to hit enter. There you go. So now my data looks much nicer. Now we can determine what the new salary is. So first things first, we're going to start off with the OR function. We're going to say equals to OR. Logical test is that either this person could have been with the company for more than 5 years, or their performance rating could be greater than 8. And then again, that gives me a false, so I need to convert that into something more meaningful. I put the if before the or, and then that becomes the OR function now becomes my logical test. the value if true, so if this condition is met, then my salary is going to go up by 10%, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my salary and multiply it by 1.10 because I want to add 10% to the current salary. So the current salary is 1, and then the plus 0.1 is the 10%. And then the value of false is going to be no, you can really call it whatever you want. You can say, in quotation marks, you can say no raise. Remember guys, when you're trying to put any kind of text into your functions, you have to put it in quotation marks, otherwise Excel is not going to read it. So in quotation marks, I'm going to say no raise, I'm going to close the bracket and hit enter. That gives me the answers that I'm looking for. And again, something that you can do here is that you can make your data look much better. You can put currency formatting in there, in the numbers, the new salary figures that have appeared here, and then you can also put your data to the right of the column so that it looks much more linear. And you'll notice that the formatting at the bottom, the border has kind of disappeared, so you can bring it back going up here, thick box border, and there you go. So now your data looks amazing, you have your answer, and this is something that is really appealing to the user or whoever is going to use this data. Okay, I hope that was pretty straightforward. Again, we have one last example where I'm going to show you guys how to use nested ifs. Okay, so nested ifs, what are they? How are they used? What do they mean? That is pretty much addressed by this question. So a nested if is when you're trying to determine more than one outcome. So in our prior example over here, notice that we only had two options. We had a $1,000 commission or no bonus, and that's the downside of using logic functions. They only provide you with a value of true or a value of false, right? So in order to counter that, you use a nested if, and the way it works is like this. So the following courses are mandatory for first-year students enrolled in the School of Accounting and Finance at Ryerson University. We have a bunch of courses, we have the seats that are listed, and we have the seats that are booked. And we need to determine the status for each class. So either a class can be full, meaning that the seats booked are equal to the seats listed. The class could be available, meaning that the seats listed are greater than the seats booked. Or the class could be overbooked. And I know that a lot of schools have a waitlist function, and that's basically what I'm trying to illustrate here. If the class is overbooked, meaning it means that basically you're on the wait list for that class. All right. So let's get into this question. Let's see how it's done. We're going to start off with our simple if function. Okay. Our logical test. So we can start off with any logical test that we want. Let's say we want to start off with the full option. So if the seats listed are equal to the seats booked, in that case the class is full. And again, I want to lock it in because I don't want the data to move around when I drag it down. Perfect. Next one. So value false. Notice guys that value false, there are two possible outcomes available or overbooked. Now in order to address that problem, I'm going to put another if within this if function. So that's why it's called a nested if. It's an if within another if. Okay. So now what we're going to do is our next logical test is that if seats listed are greater than seats booked, then that means the class is available because there are more seats available than people have registered for. So in that case, the value is available. And again, I'm going to lock that in. And the last remaining option has to be the opposite of what we just put in here. So if this condition is not met, the only remaining option is that seats booked are greater than seats listed, meaning that the class is overbooked. Okay, and then I'm just going to lock that in also. I'm going to close the bracket twice because we are dealing with two functions here, and I'm going to hit Control Enter. There you go, overbooked. And now pretty straightforward, Control Shift down arrow key, and then Control D for down, and there you go. Excel has auto-filled your data for you. And again, you can fact check your work, you can verify that Excel is doing exactly what you want it to do. If we just pick a course at random, seats booked are 385 and seats listed are 350, meaning that there are more registrations than there are seats available, so therefore overbooked. Over here, the seats listed are equal to the seats booked, meaning the class is full, and so on. So that is a very good example of how nested ifs are used, and this I believe that this video really shows the user how to deal with logic functions and how they're really used in different scenarios and different settings. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos, and I really hope that you stay tuned for more. We have a lot of other videos coming up for different topics, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. Thanks for watching, guys.